5 must-have candidate automations. Let's get into it. Just to provide a little summary of where we're going here, the 5 we're going to talk about are re-engagement, introduction message and campaign, a top talent safety net, campaign to boost word of mouth, and active job seekers. That's the summary. We're going to get into each of these in a little bit of a detail, give you an idea of what can be done. So the first, re-engagement campaign, often one of the best places to start. So the idea is to get in contact with candidates you haven't connected with recently. I would urge each of you to go look at this stat in your database, find out how many candidates that you have actively communicated with in the past 90 days. So meaning there's some sort of engagement, either inbound from a candidate or an outbound with a connection in the past 90 days. What I have seen in my experience is that number is usually 2 to 3% or lower. With Herefish, in successful deployment, I've seen that number get boosted to 60 to 75%. So obviously, if you're able to get there, monumentally positive for your business. So many good ripple effects. The next must-have is an introduction message. So this can be done as soon as someone's added to the database. Idea is you want to start things off on the right foot to set up your expectations and then deliver them so you can start the relationship positive and keep it going that way. So you can find things like letting the candidates know what makes you different as a staffing firm, what they can expect from you, and in turn, what you expect from them. And then executing on those expectations will deliver a good experience. One thing you might want to think about if you're bringing in from many different sources, there's certain sources you might not want to include in this message if the candidate doesn't know, for example, that they're in your database. So those are things that you can include in your list criteria to make sure this is going to your target segment. The next is one of my favorite automations. I think everyone should have it. It's for a top talent safety net. So the first requirement is you need to figure out who your top talent is in the database. If you don't have that in place, it's a fantastic idea. And then once you know who your top talent is, put an automation in place so that you never lose contact with them. So your competitors would gladly talk to top talent that you've forgotten about or that has slipped through the cracks of your database. You can put an automation in place to ensure that if someone's not been spoken to in a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever time frame you're looking at, sends a reminder or an outbound message directly to the candidate to see if you can stay in contact, see if there's an opportunity for them. Just keep the relationship in a positive place. Next is around boosting your word of mouth ROI and kind of a marketing perspective. So the most important aspect of this is asking for feedback. You're not going to get feedback very often unless you ask for it. Of course, the benefit of utilizing Herefish to do so on the feedback side of things is that you can follow up dynamically based on specific feedback. So those that are really happy, you can ask for reviews, referrals, or a testimonial. Those that are kind of middle of the road, you can ask them, what can we do better? How can we make your experience great instead of good? And those that are upset, you can try to triage that problem as quickly as possible to see if you can get in a better place and not have them badmouth you on social media. So this one's super important. Obviously, huge ripples. If you can boost your word of mouth, high ROI activity, that will provide benefit for a long time. And lastly, a campaign for active job seekers. After all, that is kind of the bread and butter of what staffing and recruiting firms do. So, first thing to get right is to make sure your active job seekers is a segment that you can differentiate in your database. You have a way to make sure those numbers are accurate. And then you have a variety of methods through Herefish in which you can deliver value to your active job seekers, whether that be through the machine learning semantic job matching. If you're not able to set up that, you can get by with the manual job matching. Even if you don't want to do dynamic jobs, you can still stay in contact with these active job seekers. You can link them directly to the job board. So many ways you can add value, but the main thing is to make sure you're staying in contact with your active job seekers, especially those ones that are going to be a good fit.